Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, you say it's the same old story for cotton and exports.
That's right. We're going to talk about a new report in just a moment, Artis. Also ahead this week, it appears that Brazil is not expanding its soybean acres. Chicken prices, meanwhile, decline and hurt margins for producers, while the heat wave tightens the cattle supply. The Thursday, August 4th, weekly export sales report for cotton is being described as anemic by DTN as far as new crop business. The lack of demand continues to weigh on the market. Analyst Virgil Robinson says both global and domestic cotton supplies appear to be increasing.
We've taken 50% of the value of cotton away since April. We have acknowledged the fact that India, China, and Pakistan are likely to grow pretty sizable crops. Unfortunately, we have something of a production issue here in the U.S. in both Texas and Georgia. But the combination of increased acres year over year and production is likely to produce a bit more cotton supply in the U.S., and global supplies are forecast to increase about 9 million metric tons year over year, and ending stocks grow about 7 million metric tons. So from a supply perspective, we're not concerned about a shortage moving forward.
Turning from cotton to soybeans, it appears that Brazil is not going to be adding to its global supply of beans this year. Analyst Sue Martin says the reason is simple. Brazil is going head over heels into bioenergy crops now.
Brazil's looking at expanding sugarcane acres down there. They're also looking at corn. Those are ethanol products, energy products, and Brazil's big into ethanol. I think that when I look at the bean crop out of Brazil, we're not going to see an expansion there unless price creates it, and that means running higher. You look at the carryout, and we're estimating 175 million carryout.
To transition from the row crop markets to livestock, we have this trivia quiz for you to be thinking about. Here's the question: what Mississippi county was once known as the Jersey County of the South? The answer is one of these: Walthall, Oktibbeha, Lincoln, or Tate. Stay with us to find out the right choice. A decline in white meat chicken prices is typical following the 4th of July each summer. However, analysts say the drop is much steeper this year, 20% lower than a year ago for chicken breast and tenders. BB&T Capital Markets trader Heather Jones says that declining egg sets should translate into poultry production cuts for this industry soon. However, she notes that bird weights are heavier now, up 3 to 4% from a year ago. Analysts say that demand for chicken began softening back in May and June due to continued weak export volumes and a tough U.S. food service environment. And the most recent sign of weak U.S. chicken exports came from Russia just this last week. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin proposed a lower poultry import quota for the year 2012. He projected his nation will only import 350,000 metric tons of chicken next year. Putin said the quota was contingent on Russia joining the World Trade Organization. It's no secret it's been a hot week in the Mid-South, and this weather is impacting the beef sector. Drover's Cattle Network reports many producers in the South and Midwest have sold cattle because pastures are simply too dry. In addition, the heat slows the ability of cattle to gain weight, which means producers may be selling them at a lighter total weight. I talked to Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley on Thursday about this market and the recent Cattle on Feed report. John Michael, did the July 22nd on-feed report show any evidence of this heat situation in the cattle?
It did. It did, especially if you look at the placements number for that report. That number was up 4.1% from a year ago. Analysts expected it to actually be down about 6.5%. So a huge swing in the placement number compared to what was expected. Keep in mind this is typically a small number year in and year out, so any marginal changes do create a larger percentage change. But still, the fact that there were more cattle placed and well above expectation is an indication that those numbers were higher, especially if you look at placements in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. Those placements of cattle were much higher, and even cattle weighing under 700 pounds were much higher. So the drought conditions that are gripping the southwestern U.S. is definitely showing up in our cattle numbers.
And as we talked a moment ago, actually pasture conditions in Mississippi have improved somewhat recently. But I'm sure this next on-feed report, this situation is not going away as far as other parts of the country and the impact on beef.
It's not showing. Yeah, Mississippi, the pasture conditions have improved. They were about 41% at the start of July, rated poor and very poor, down to about 18% now. But if you look at places like Texas and Oklahoma, 93% of the Texas pastures poor and very poor, and 86% of Oklahoma pastures poor and very poor. So a really bad condition over there, continuing to get worse, not get better.
So when we look at that, how is this going to impact prices here as we move ahead here in the next month or two?
Well, that high placements number was a bit of a bearish number because it was so much higher than expected, pushing more cattle into the feedlot in the short term. That's going to, in 4 to 6 months, those cattle will be coming off. But if we think about this from a long-term perspective, definitely going to see less feeder cattle available, less fed cattle as those work their way through the system. Cow numbers are expected to continue to decline. Beef cattle held, beef heifers retained for replacement were down or expected to be down again for 2011 and carrying forward. So just to really continue to just worsen this supply situation that that's already tight.
And as you noted, again, what we're seeing is lighter weight cattle coming to market.
Right.
Producers are taking them a lot earlier.
They're having to. The pastures are dry. They're having to liquidate earlier than expected.
Wrapping up the markets now with our trivia answer for you. The correct choice out of our list of possibilities was B, Octibbeha. In the 1920s, this county was first known as the Jersey County of the South because of the large number of dairies located there.